This satellite view reveals rigid boundaries dividing Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. Strip away these lines and look to 1300 BCE. The landscape transforms. This massive territory was home to semi-nomadic Indo-Iranian tribes, moving freely, sharing a common language and nature gods. Within 2 centuries, this fluid, wandering world vanished. The tribes began to settle permanently, anchoring themselves to specific patches of land. The cultural patterns established between 1300 and 1100 BCE became the permanent inheritance of this region, defining the social and religious identities that survive into the present day. In the east, population growth in the Punjab forced the Vedic people to migrate into the Ganga-Yamuna-Doab. This was an unfamiliar landscape, vast, dense, and difficult to penetrate. The primary obstacle was the environment itself. The Gangetic plains were covered in a humid, root-bound jungle that was effectively impervious to the soft bronze tools of the earlier era. The shift began when local smiths mastered the mass production of iron. This provided the settlers with tools that were materially superior for heavy-duty labor, specifically the heavy iron axe and the iron-tipped ploughshare. These iron tools allowed communities to clear primary forests and cut through the thick alluvial soil of the lowlands. The jungle was systematically replaced by a patchwork of rice paddies and wheat farms. Archaeology captures this transition through the painted gray ware culture. The appearance of this distinct pottery marks the arrival of permanent mud brick villages, centralized granaries, and a diet centered on surplus rice cultivation. This wasn't a minor farming update. Generating a reliable food surplus is the specific economic requirement for a society to stop wandering and build a sedentary civilization. As tribes anchored themselves to these profitable lands, their identity changed. They were no longer just groups of kin. They became janapadas, territorial states with defined geographic borders and ruling lineages. With a surplus of food, society began to specialize. Some people stopped farming to focus on protection or ritual, leading to the rigid Varna system. This fourfold hierarchy assigned permanent, hereditary roles to priests, warriors, farmers, and laborers as a way to organize and protect the newly centralized wealth. The role of the king expanded alongside this complexity. Rulers relied on elaborate Brahmin rituals, like the horse sacrifice, to legitimize their authority and claim any territory their consecrated horses could wander across. This intensified competition for land led to the rise of powerful clan confederacies, like the Kuru realm. You can see the shift toward militarization in the imposing, fortified walls of hilltop structures overlooking the rivers. The political violence of this era, characterized by shifting alliances and territorial expansion, became the foundational memory for the Mahabharata, India's great epic of war and duty. Turning westward to modern Afghanistan, we find a different landscape. While the mountains of the Khyber Pass appear to be a barrier, in the 2nd millennium BCE, they served as a permeable frontier for the exchange of ideas between East and West. On the Iranian Plateau, the geography favored scattered pastoral communities living in isolated oases. This was a world far removed from the dense jungles of the East. These Proto-Iranian groups shared the old Indo-Iranian religious traditions, which centered on animal sacrifice and the worship of various nature deities, similar to those found in the early Vedas. This system was challenged by the prophet Zarathustra. He introduced a radical rejection of the old gods, declaring them to be agents of chaos rather than divine beings. Zarathustra replaced the old rituals with ethical dualism. He proposed a universe caught in a cosmic struggle between truth and order on one side, and falsehood and chaos on the other, under a single supreme deity. This theology moved religious responsibility away from elite priestly ceremonies. For Zarathustra, the struggle for cosmic order was decided by the individual's free will and their choice to pursue good thoughts, words, and deeds. While India used iron technology to build territorial kingdoms, Zarathustra used philosophy to build a moral one, creating a framework that would influence the world's major monotheistic faiths. By 1100 BCE, the modern political map of the region begins to look familiar. The fluid movements of the previous centuries have stabilized. The era of the wandering tribe had ended. In its place, the people of the region had committed to the land and to specific systems of order. Within modern India, the agrarian state, the Varna social hierarchy, and the seeds of the Hindu epic tradition were now permanent fixtures of the culture. To the west, the moral architecture of Zoroastrianism had taken root in Iran, establishing the concepts of heaven, hell, and individual judgment that would later shape the religions of the Middle East. The transition from iron-tipped plows to the ethical frameworks of the plateau replaced the fluidity of the nomadic world with something permanent. By 1100 BCE, the foundations of these two distinct civilizations were set in stone and scripture.